Hello everybody, welcome to solo ReacTalk. This afternoon I'm going to be reacting to a video requested by Vonnie Torrevel. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly there. Vonnie Torrevel 23H has requested that I should react to 9/11 Yellow Ribbon Gander, Newfoundland. Yes. The video I found was called Operation Yellow Ribbon Gander, Canada, 9/11, September 9/11, 2001. So hopefully it is the video that you have been requesting. And if it's not, in the comment section, you can just give me the correct title for the video. And hopefully I'll find it then. Yes. Okay. Let's start. Oh, remember, if you want to check out the original video as well as the YouTube channel where it comes from, the links are going to be in the description below. Okay, let's start. 3, 2, 1, go.
September 11th, 2009. This is a scene that has played out in communities for 8 years since the terrorist attacks of 2001. But what makes this ceremony different is where it's taking place. This is the Appleton Peace Park near the town of Gander in Newfoundland, Canada, where during the tragedy of 9/11, there was a bright light on the better part of our humanity.
It's a beautiful, beautiful thing that has happened here, and we know that no matter what happens in the world, there are still good people.
If this place can be somehow shared with the world would be a much better place.
I think we would need to have a massive project of, distributing information about this place that has contributed to, I think there were airplane diversions to Gander during 9/11, right? Because I remember there was a movie also centered around this, or was it a documentary? I can't remember. But yeah, for it to be a shining example across the world, we're going to need to spread the word of, human empathy and sympathy and support, like what has been found here in Gander. It's something that can be emulated, something that can be replicated across the world. We would need an aggressive, media campaign, especially in 2025. There's a lot of things that are happening right now across the world, and it's terrible. And we need solidarity. We need human beings to stand united against tyranny. Yeah.
Here in Gander, amid the heartache, an autumn romance blossomed. Here, parents were constantly consoled as they faced wrenching pain. Here, thousands of stranded Americans would form a lasting bond with everyday Canadians who acted with admirable, unwavering kindness. We can never again look at the New York skyline without remembering that day, September 11th, when terrorists hijacked airliners loaded with passengers and jet fuel, flew them into the World Trade Center and killed 3,000 people.
I mean, just look at that skyline now, The towers were right there. They were tall. They were imposing. And you would see them in movies. You'd see them in TV shows. You'd see them in animated TV shows. The World Trade Centers. They were the iconic buildings of the New York skyline. Yes, there is the Empire State Building and the Chrysler Building and all these other historical buildings, but the World Trade Centers, they just had this aura around them, and how they would light up during the night. really, they were very beautiful buildings. And yeah, it's such a shame that they are gone. And all the people who were there and the people who were trying to rescue, most of them didn't make it out of there alive. Unfortunately.
Altering the lives of an untold number of others. Most of our attention that day, of course, was focused here in New York, but it was a story that reverberated around the world. And it had a special impact on a small Canadian town 1,000 miles north of here. A town that became a safe port in a storm of fear, terrorism, and uncertainty. The province of Newfoundland and Labrador, a former British colony that did not join Canada until 1949.
1949, that's when they joined up. Wow, okay. So they were independent for a very long time then.
Has long been considered Canada's poorest. It is largely populated by descendants of Scots and Irish, living simply in often harsh conditions. Here, neighbors relying on neighbors is a necessity of everyday life. Gander, population 10,000, is a small, two-stoplight town in the northeast corner of the island of Newfoundland. Claude Elliott has been mayor of Gander since 1996.
We only have 500,000.
Wow, since 1996 he's been the mayor? Oh, probably he's been revoted into the position of mayor, in every election cycle. Okay, but that's impressive. They must really like you.
People on a massive island. We've come through some difficult times, and most Newfoundlanders survive with hard work, helping each other, and that's been passed on from generation to generation.
The cold season can come quickly and severely in Newfoundland, but September 11th, 2001 dawns warm and sunny, a typically bucolic day that will be anything but typical as Gander is about to be thrust into the catastrophic events unfolding 1,000 miles to the southwest. Its citizens to be challenged as never before.
September 11th, 2001 started as a normal day in Gander. While we were having coffee, someone said there was a plane that crashed in New York in one of the Twin Towers.
It was first the North Tower, and then it was the South Tower that got hit. Yeah.
Complaints of speeding on Airport Boulevard. It's the only 4-lane road that we have, and I was parked in front of the curling club. I had my car radio and I heard what was going on. And like a lot of people, I couldn't believe that this was happening. And I said, that can't be true. It just can't be.
It is such a pretty morning, isn't it?
Perfect fall morning.
Look at those buildings, guys. Really, it was the signature of that city. Impressive.
On that September morning, air traffic control veteran Ben Sliney is on his first day in his new position as FAA National Operations Manager. Barely an hour into the workday, there is an ominous development.
We were trying to locate American 11. It had shut off its transponder and dropped below radar coverage.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the book is called Hughes. We want to go live right now and show you a picture of the World Trade Center.
A plane has just crashed into the World Trade Center here in New York City.
We saw what appeared to be a fireball at the top of the World Trade Center.
We had reports of another aircraft that had deviated from its course.
Oh, another one just hit. Something else just hit.
U.S. officials say it appears it was a third plane that hit the Pentagon.
I ordered a national ground stop, meaning that no other aircraft could take off. Whatever's necessary. Just get them stopped now. I don't want any more planes on their frequency taking off.
56 minutes after the North Tower is struck, an unprecedented decision has been made. Every non-military plane must land immediately. For the first time ever, American airspace is closed. This is war. This is a declaration and an execution of an attack on the United States.
The only way to really sort the situation out was to land everyone in our airspace.
The FAA now says that all international flights headed for the United States are being diverted to Canada.
Wow. And Canada, you know, I'm sure they accepted that responsibility, but it must have been extremely chaotic. Imagine all of these international inbound flights. I don't know how many, but there must be hundreds of them coming towards the United States of America. All of a sudden now they're being told to divert to Canada, and probably also Mexico or any other Caribbean island nation that has got sufficient space in their airports. But yeah, it must have been extremely chaotic during that time. And you know, when I just saw those images of the World Trade Center, the fire, I just remember there was a documentary that they were talking about people who couldn't escape from the fires. The stairs or the elevators were inoperable because of the fire, and some people jumped out of the windows, you know, from such a high level in the World Trade Center buildings. They jumped out. I don't know, like, for the people there witnessing that and to hear people's bodies just crunch on the floor, it must have been extremely traumatizing. And yeah, you know, just seeing the fire billowing from the buildings there, it just reminded me of a documentary that I've watched that discussed about, you know, the people who were trapped in the buildings, and you know how some of them just couldn't bear it anymore. They couldn't bear the flames, the smoke. They just had to get out, and they got out.
Every day, as transatlantic flights enter and leave North American airspace, they are managed here, the Area Control Center in Gander, Newfoundland.
Gander 1174 Center, good day. Clear to send to maintain 6,000 feet.
On September 11th, when U.S. airspace is shut down, there are almost 400 planes carrying tens of thousands of passengers westbound over the Atlantic. Around 200 are close enough to return to Europe. 167 more are too far across the ocean to turn back. When did you begin to be aware of what was about to happen in Gander? The flights that had been crossing the Atlantic more than halfway, many of them were going to be headed for Gander and St. John's and Halifax, but Gander would be the big magnet.
I knew that the Canadians were going to get an onslaught of traffic, and I suppose I hoped that they'd be able to handle that traffic.
60 north, 10 west.
I mean, there is no choice. If the government is issuing a lockdown of air travel in the country, you know, the other countries neighboring the United States of America are going to have to try and help out as much as possible. Yeah.
The responsibility of handling the traffic falls to a small team led by Don O'Brien, the supervisor on duty at the control center for NAV Canada, the Canadian version of the FAA.
The arrival sector, we normally would have 3 controllers seated. We quickly went to 14.
3 to 14. Yeah, that's crazy.
We train for emergencies. We train for bomb threats, but usually it's a single airplane or maybe a second one maybe, but not to this level. The activity was going on here.
Was another part of your mind thinking about what had happened in New York and the possibility that there were more terrorists out there?
I'm sure it went through the controllers' heads, it went through my head, but sure, some of those airplanes could have been missiles. We didn't know how extensive this was, but that wasn't our call, really. We just had to get those airplanes on the ground safely.
One of the pilots approaching Newfoundland is Beverly Bass, the first female captain at a major airline.
Which major airline?
She's flying American Flight 49 from Paris to Dallas with 170 people on board.
From the controller's standpoint, they feared that another airplane was going to be taken down. Some of the airplanes were given directions to turn around and go back to their departure city. So we're sitting there cruising westbound and looking out the window, and you can actually see them turn and make 180s and head back to Europe.
Newfoundland is an island located off the eastern edge of North America. The 167 planes approaching Canada all must land immediately. The vast majority at small airports around the island and in the nearby maritime provinces, all controlled in Gander. Over the next 7 hours, Gander Control and the surrounding airports will handle unprecedented traffic under extreme emergency conditions.
Gander Air India 113, we go to Toronto.
Air India 113 Center, negative. You must now land at Gander. Turn right heading 320.
Roger, turning right heading 320.
Flight paths must be recalculated in 3 dimensions, accounting for speed, direction, altitude. Some planes are too heavy to land and must jettison fuel. The risk of collision is ever present. This is an actual radar tape from that morning. Now you're starting to turn them toward Gander.
Yes, we got the word, of course, and we had to heel them all northward into Gander, St. John's, and Stephenville. Some of them knew there was activity going on in Kennedy, and there was a crisis in American airspace. Some of them didn't. We were telling them, look, you got to land. And they're saying, no, we're going on to Kennedy or Dallas or wherever. They said, no, you're not.
And around 2001, there was no Wi-Fi aboard aircraft. You know, internet access was still at a very young age, if I can say it like that, for a lack of a better word. You know, people didn't have internet access for news and for other sorts of reports that might be emanating from New York. So probably many of the people who aboard these aircraft only heard the news from the captain as he spoke over the intercom, or if they were in range of radio. Maybe some people have got some handheld radio, walk radio devices, if I can say it like that. And, you know, they would hear the news. And yeah, it must have been a very terrifying experience for many of these people to be told that they're not going to the United States. They're being diverted to Canada. They've been diverted to Newfoundland. And they're going to be landing in a place called Gander, or other locations in Canada. And it must have been a very scary situation for those people because their families are waiting for them at home. Some people might have families in New York City itself, and you know, they would want to head home as soon as possible to make sure that their families are fine, and to be with them in this entire situation. But they can't because, you know, it's out of their control. They don't have any power to, you know, just head over to their home country and reach their families. They just have to listen and obey to the commands of the captain and the government that are in control. Yeah, it must have been a very stressful situation for many of them.
In the air, as they learn the shocking details, captains worry their own planes could be carrying hijackers, forcing many to hide the truth from their passengers.
Now, I did not account for that. And yeah, this would also be a reason why maybe the captains would not speak about this, that, you know, what has happened in New York, just in case if they do have terrorists aboard their aircraft. You know, they don't want to give those terrorists a chance to say that, you know, they've succeeded in New York. Let's take this chance. Let's hijack this plane and finish off the job. Yeah, I did not account for that as well. That maybe the captains would have just stayed quiet and just diverted all the way to Newfoundland, and it would be a surprise for those who would land in Newfoundland. The passengers, you know, they would, you know, look at the airport and say, this is not home. This is not the United States of America. Where is this? You know, where has the captain taken us? Is he lost? You know, they would start asking questions like that.
Our captain came on the PA system and announced that we had a slight mechanical problem, something to do with an indicator signal or something like that. We were going to have to put down in Gander to have it repaired.
Nice, Captain. Very, very nice. That is far better than me. I would have just kept quiet. But no, you actually made up a story, you made up a lie to say, hey, we have an engine problem, or we have a signal problem, we have to go to the nearest airport to get it fixed. I like that.
Lee Brooks Jones is a retired fundraising administrator for Ohio State, returning home from Frankfurt, Germany, on board Delta Flight 15.
Once we got parked, the captain came back on the intercom, apologized to us for the ruse, and said actually the equipment was fine, but there was a national emergency in the United States.
3 aircraft that we know of were commandeered. One was crashed into each of the World Trade Center towers in New York City, and another was crashed into the Pentagon outside Washington, D.C.
Apparently some type of what would appear to be maybe a terrorist activity or hijacking has occurred with airplanes which apparently have impacted the World Trade Center in New York City.
Why does a town of 10,000 people have a large airport like Gander exactly? Why is that? Was it used for the purposes of the military probably in the past? Because it makes no sense. Why would there be such a large airport near a town of a very small population that is not economically mobile enough to be taking trips across the world, you know, on large planes? Because the population size is also very small. It's only 10,000 people. Why do they have such a large airport? Yeah, it must have been a military airport before, a military base, and I guess it has a new function now. It has a new purpose.
On September 11th, 8 domestic flights are scheduled to land in Gander. Instead, 38 planes carrying almost 7,000 people are beginning to fill the tarmac. The spectacle has drawn a crowd from among the town's 10,000 citizens. Oz Fudge is one of just 2 officers on the local police force.
I mean, just imagine. You usually just see propeller planes in the town of Gander, or you see, maybe if you are lucky, you would see a two-engine winged aeroplane, but now you're seeing aeroplanes with 4 engines or 3 engines. You know, it's just a different experience. Far larger aircraft, you know, aircraft that would just boggle the mind on how this thing actually flies. So yeah, it must have been a spectacle for many people just to see these aeroplanes up close.
I watched the plane come in, then I seen a jumbo come in, and then I seen another one come in, and I'm looking at this and I'm saying, holy God, if there's 200 people on each one of these planes, and we're going to get 40 or 50 planes, that's an awful lot of people.
Less than 2 hours after American Flight 11 strikes the North Tower of the World Trade Center, the skies over the United States are empty. For the first time, American airspace is completely closed. In Canada, the Gander Area Control Center somehow lands all 167 planes without incident.
It was a sigh of relief. You wipe your brow, you thank God they all got in safely, and it was unbelievable to go from this horrific activity, and then the airspace is completely sterilized. Nobody there. No targets on the radar screen.
What about the military? The United States military, were they still allowed to fly their airplane in American airspace? I'm just wondering about that. But yes, commercial planes, commercial helicopters, commercial, anything commercial, registered has to stay on the ground. I'm just wondering about the military, division of the government, where they're still allowed to fly their planes.
Here in New York, the sad task of the search for the survivors and the victims goes on and on. In New York, citizen volunteers are flooding toward Ground Zero as emergency workers search for survivors. 1,000 miles from the destruction, the 10,000 residents of the peaceful Canadian town of Gander, with virtually no time to prepare, must also respond with countless acts of generosity, providing food and shelter for thousands of frightened passengers, strangers who have suddenly arrived at their door. Among the stranded, far from home, are the parents of a New York City fireman. Not knowing if their son is at Ground Zero, Hannah and Dennis O'Rourke fear they may never see him again.
He was a fireman? Oh no. Oh no.
Thousands of transatlantic flights underline the strategic importance of Newfoundland's airports.
Gander was an airport before it was a town. In the late 1930s, British and American military officials chose this site on the eastern edge of the continent to build the largest airport in the world.
Okay.
During World War II, this was a takeoff place for American military aircraft headed for the European theater.
That explains why a town of 10,000 people have such a large airport. An airport that can accommodate such large aircraft. It now explains, why they have it.
After the war, Gander continued to play a vital role as a refueling stop for transatlantic commercial airliners. But then, the jumbo jets came along. They could cross the Atlantic non-stop, and Gander's role in aviation was greatly reduced until September 11th, when Gander came alive again, a safe harbor for the jumbo jets that had almost put it out of business. And within a matter of hours, this vast tarmac was filled with planes from around the world, parked wingtip to wingtip.
It's actually good that the Canadian government maintained this airport instead of just mothballing it and just leaving it abandoned and, nature taking its course over the entire airport. It's good that they maintained it. I'm sure they maintained it for other emergency purposes. They probably never expected something like this to ever occur. But yeah, it's good that they maintained the airport. It is still operational. And, at a moment like this, when catastrophe has struck their neighbors and commercial airlines have to have a place to land, this was just perfect. This airport here is perfect.
It is basically becoming a gigantic runway for every plane and aircraft that was destined for the United States today.
In Gander, no one is allowed off the planes until customs and security are in place. Run by airport officials and officers from the regional headquarters of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the Mounties.
The Mounties? Huh. Interesting nickname.
Process each passenger, plane by plane, until authorities are certain there are no terrorists on board. Among the trapped...
Wait, how would they determine who is a terrorist exactly? How would that go about? Or do they have information from the American government, giving them the identities of possible terrorists? How exactly would they determine that this particular person is a terrorist and this one is not?
Passengers is New York State Police Officer George Vitale, who is returning from Ireland, where he was doing advanced security for New York Governor George Pataki.
We were on this plane for 19 hours, sat on the tarmac, not really knowing what was going on outside. but knowing that, it was pretty horrific.
The number of casualties will be more than any of us can bear, ultimately. And I don't think we want to speculate on the number of casualties. The effort now has to be to save as many people as possible.
There is another New York couple on the Gander tarmac whose connection to the events back home couldn't be more personal.
I just wanted to get off the plane and see what was happening, because I was hoping my son wasn't working that day.
Oh, the firefighter, the family that have the firefighter son, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Ennis and Hannah.
Dennis and Hannah O'Rourke have been visiting relatives in Ireland. When they learn what has happened, they fear for their 44-year-old son, Kevin O'Rourke, a firefighter from Rescue 2 in Brooklyn.
I guess it goes back many years to when I was a kid. The apartment building I lived in, over the years I was there, I ended up having 3 different fires. So
oh, this is him.
Was carried out as a child by a firefighter. So I have fond memory, I have memories to go back to, all of a sudden, in the smoke, this big guy comes up, grabs me, and carries me down the stairs.
When he was going for his fire test, and he said, "Mom, you pray for me." And I said, "Yeah, Kevin, yeah." He said, "Pray for me to pass." I said, "Yeah, Kevin." So he missed it by, 1 or 2 points, and he came home that night and he looked at me. He says, "You didn't pray for me." I did pass. I says, "No, Kevin, I prayed for you, you'd fail." So he says, "Mom, that's all I want. That's my calling, is to be a fireman."
I don't think he made it. If they're not showing him in the present day, when this video was made, I don't think he made it. Yeah.
While the desperate rescue operation continues in New York, Gander begins the process of absorbing all those passengers. So
the population of that town is going to be huge. It's going to balloon.
Many that in a matter of hours they will nearly double the local population.
Now, Gander is a town of barely 10,000 people. There was over 6,000 of us. Now, if you extrapolate the numbers, New York City is 8 million people, so what's that? 6 million people showing up on your door saying, "Okay, we're here, do something."
The painstaking process of registering and removing each passenger continues through the night.
Finally, we're free, we're free. We're on the ground after more than 24 hours. We have no idea where we're going, but we're going.
It is not until noon on Wednesday, September 12th, when the last passengers are finally allowed into the Gander terminal. They are exhausted and confused, most not knowing where in the world they have landed.
We're going to bus you into Gander, which is just a few minutes away. We're not sure when the FAA is going to open up the United States to travel again. The Department of Transportation in Canada has all air traffic in Canada shut down right now. When you see the footage of what has happened, you'll appreciate why things have been done the way they are.
The only vehicles available to transport the great volume of passengers from the airport are
school buses,
and the local bus drivers happen to be on strike.
We were told at the time we got a crisis on our hands, and the strike never came into effect whatsoever. All the bus drivers came back, every one, and we all came back and we did our job.
They laid down their picket signs, they went and took their buses and they drove it, and for the next 4 or 5 days just helped out wherever they could. And that's what we're made of. That's the type of people we are. Even though those bus drivers had a dispute with their employer, they had no dispute with the people that landed here.
We'll do the best we can to look after this. If there's anything you need, anything at all, I mean anything, just ask, and you will be taken care of, bottom line, okay?
Wow. This is amazing.
We're going to make it as comfortable as possible.
As passengers arrive in town, the locals rush to meet them with home-cooked meals. Among them is lifelong Gander resident Beulah Cooper, an organizer at the Canadian Legion Hall.
7 o'clock that night, I got a phone call from the Legion and asked me to do a tray of sandwiches. They have them down there by 8 o'clock. I didn't know what was going on. Brought down a tray of sandwiches and I found out about the planes. Your heart went out to each and every one of them. Because the first thing you do is put yourself in their shoes and know how you would feel.
Currently there are thousands of people in Gander and surrounding area that need your help. Please come to their assistance, lend a hand, lend a meal, offer your services wherever possible.
Passengers are not allowed to remove their check bags from the plane, so the clothes on their backs and in their carry-ons may be all they'll have for days. Ganderites respond, donating clothing and opening their shops free of charge.
Free of charge? Wow! I've never heard of anything like this. That's quite impressive. That is more than I would have ever expected, really. They're taking care of them in a very special way.
Show your boxes to the camera.
Hundreds of passengers are also without their prescriptions until owners of the 2 local pharmacies working day and night and across language barriers can fill them all, again, at no cost.
They were able to go into the stores and just...
Okay, at no cost to the people who have come to Gander, but then what about the businesses? How are they going to absorb such expenses? I'm sure the government is covering the expenses. Yeah. It has to be either the local government or the provincial government or the national government that is, making sure that these businesses that are offering these services free of charge are covered. Yeah, because just giving out stuff like this free of charge to the business, it will be detrimental, I think. I could be wrong about that. But when has a business ever given anything to you for free?
Take items off the shelves. I'm not even sure they had to pay for them. The people were so accommodating in Gander.
This is our cook. There's chef. Oh, you chef.
Even with all the kitchens firing around town, the local citizens cannot possibly feed 7,000 people. The Red Cross and Salvation Army send additional food and supplies, fueled by donations from throughout Newfoundland.
I can't thank everybody enough. It's been brilliant. Everyone seems to have pulled together, It's amazing where all the stuff has come from.
The community centers also acts as a ice rink, and we've stored all the food on the ice surface, and we became known as the largest walk-in refrigerator in the country.
Clever. Good idea.
Another problem. Gander has only 500 hotel beds for almost 7,000 unexpected guests.
I'm sure some people had to stay in school gymnasiums or even people's homes. Those that would be okay inviting a stranger, over to their houses to sleep over.
Local schools, churches, and Legion halls must be converted into makeshift dormitories filled with sleeping bags, blankets, and cots. It is only as the passengers are settled around Gander that they see for the first time images of the devastation back home.
There's the plane, you can't miss that.
Some 30 hours after all of this had happened, we finally saw the pictures on television, and we just stood there, not saying a word and just watching those pictures over and over and over.
I think a lot were in shock. You could see that look in their faces of total lost. We don't know what's happening. They're in a place called Gander. Their country has been attacked. They're talking thousands of people that may have perished. What's happening? What is happening here?
I apologize to the families of people that are lost right now. We have lots of families seeking information about who was in the World Trade Center. Did they get out? Didn't they get out? Are we able to recover them? Aren't we able to recover them? And we don't know the answers to all of those questions yet.
Hannah and Dennis O'Rourke are staying at the Canadian Legion Hall in Gander. By now, they've learned that their son Kevin had been one of the early responders at the World Trade Center and that he is among the missing.
I seen on the TV what happened to the Twin Towers. And I didn't want to alarm her, but I knew that when they collapsed, I figured nobody would get out of that thing. But we prayed. I came here and prayed, hoped he went so high.
It is reality, as far as in the city of New York, that you are going to lose some of your fellow brothers, battling the Red Devil. Just luck of the draw, I guess.
He says, some are called for nurses, doctors, priests. My calling is to help people. And that's my calling, to be a fireman, helping other people and saving people's lives.
And I'm sure he did help a lot. I don't know which tower was he, going into to help out people, but I'm sure he did help out a lot of people before, the buildings started to collapse.
This is an effort involving people that came in on half a day's notice. Some very anxious people, some very worried people, but yet some very thankful people for the hospitality that only the people of Gander and surrounding area can show.
These strangers are just taking us into their home. And it was not just taking us into their home. It was, here's the bathroom, here's fresh towels, here's the refrigerator, there's plenty of food. And then what they said is, now you know where the house is. The door is open.
I got to tell you, this experience with your town has just been beyond belief. We were buying some clothes earlier for the extra day stay, and the shopping clerk actually invited us to her house to take a shower. So it's been like that ever since we've been here.
And the people are real nice. I can't believe it. Everybody put their arms around you. And it's always food coming in all the time.
There's not one person that we have come across who hasn't offered to help us in some way. It's overwhelming.
They didn't think of themselves at all at any time. They'd be in that kitchen and working all day and work the night. It didn't faze them, so they were there for you.
Other than her daily walk to church, Hannah O'Rourke refuses to leave the Legion Hall. Beulah Cooper, the Legion Hall organizer, can't help but notice her pain.
My son is a fireman, but I know this is not New York. And your heart really went out to them. And I tried to get them to come up here and stay, but they wouldn't leave the Legion because they were afraid they'd miss a phone call.
She was fantastic to us, and so was everybody else, but Beulah was special. She was like a mother. That motherly love, she'd hold you, and she was great.
I talked to her, tried to take her mind off things, but I know I didn't do that because you can't take a mother's mind off her child.
Beulah Cooper tends to the O'Rourke's day and night. She walks Hannah to church to pray for Kevin and for his fellow firefighters.
The community, the love that they have, you could feel it every place around, They keep telling you, keep your faith, he'll be fine, you'll find him, he'll find his way out. I says, if anybody can, Kevin will, So, it was in God's hands.
Oh, wow. At least Ms. Hannah O'Rourke, hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly there, her surname correctly. But yes, the O'Rourke family, at least they had a sense of community with the people of Gander, especially Miss Cooper. And, at least they had people to talk to. Yes, it might be seen as a distraction or trying to distract Miss Roanoke from what has happened in New York. But, at least she has people to talk to. She has, people just to be around her, not just her husband, and not just being stuck in one place, but, you know, people talking to her, giving her that sort of friendship. And also Mr. Ennis Roanoke, you know, also he's getting that friendship, he's getting that support. And, you know, that's good, because you don't want to be alone with your thoughts. You don't want to be alone with your thoughts, you know, especially with you worrying about your loved ones. It can be very dangerous. The mind will take you places that you don't want to go to. And if you're able to talk to people, you'll be able to be distracted from that sort of scenarios that are popping up in your head, you know, and you are preoccupied with listening and talking to other people, and not really worrying too much about what has happened in New York. So at least they had people that they could communicate with and, you know, share some stories or laugh or cry. You know, at least they had company. Yeah, because you don't want to sit alone with those thoughts. It can be very painful, a traumatic experience.
The quiet peace around Gander was shattered on September 11th when almost 7,000 airline passengers were forced to land here. They came to be known as the Plane People, and they almost doubled the local population. Many of them didn't know the fate of their loved ones. They were confused and anxious. But that anxiety was quickly replaced by gratitude. Gratitude for the exceptional acts of kindness and comfort offered by ordinary people.
When we were stranded here, we were very vulnerable.
This soundtrack, I know this soundtrack. From Finding Nemo. Yes, from Finding Nemo. This soundtrack. Oh, I love this soundtrack. Nice choice.
But everyone made us feel so loved and at home and comforted. Everybody just put everything on hold to take care of us.
Diane Kershke of Houston is traveling home alone after visiting her son's family in Huntington, England. In Gander, she has met another passenger from Continental Flight 5. His name is Nick Morrison, a button-up oil industry engineer from Worcester, England, on his way to Texas for business. Originally scheduled to fly on September 10th, his company had postponed his trip by one fateful day at the last minute.
That's where I first saw Diane, which was over here. She was sat on an army cart all on her own. There were a bunch of other women over there. There was something in the order of 90 people here. Life, you're on a treadmill, you get up, you go to work, you come home, you get up, you go to work, come home. And you perhaps don't have time to stop and examine where you are. And all of a sudden, you're plucked out of this everyday life for 4 days.
Wait, they're together? Wow. Okay, people found love. All right, interesting.
And yes, you do get a chance to examine where you are and where you want to go.
U.S. airspace reopens on Thursday, September 13th. Over the next 3 days, the Gander Airport once again becomes a swarm of activity. Around town, the schools and Legion halls begin to empty.
Our community had a sense of sadness because they didn't know if they were ever going to see, and probably never will see, a lot of those people again. But there was also a lot of friendships developed from it. So there was a sense of sadness, but a sense of relief that I did something good to help those people.
We rode on a school bus to go back to the airport to leave. And of course I had already been crying because we were leaving the people that we'd met here. And Nick was trying to comfort me, and he was going to kiss me on the forehead.
Oh, Nick. Oh, Nick. Oh, my gosh. All right.
And well, I didn't think about him being a gentleman and kissing me on the forehead. I thought he just missed my lips. So I...
Oh, gosh.
I just grabbed him and kissed him on the bus.
Oh, yeah.
Shirley Brooks Jones, the retired Ohio State fundraising administrator, boards Delta Flight 15 to begin her journey home. She's constantly thinking about the generosity of the people in the Gander area, wondering what she could ever do to pay them back. And then, going home, an inspiration.
All of us, as we were leaving, tried to leave some money with the people. And they wouldn't take it. They'd just look at us and they'd say, no, you do the same for us.
Once the flight is airborne, Brooks Jones asked the pilot if she can make an announcement. A request, really, for passengers to donate money toward a scholarship fund for graduates of Lewisport Collegiate School, where so many have spent their days in Newfoundland.
Nice. That's a good idea, Miss Jones. That's a really, really good idea. Well done.
Several of the men went around, picked up the pledge sheets, counted up how much the people from all over the world had pledged, and they had pledged something over $15,000 US.
When Delta 15 touches down in Atlanta, the passengers and crew, who for days were left wondering if anyone remembered them, are surprised by the warm, enthusiastic welcome they received. After 4 stressful days spent tending to her passengers, and with the thought of 2 hijacked American Airlines flights still fresh in her mind, Captain Beverly Bass recalls the moment she arrived home in Dallas.
So we're rolling down the runway. I'm looking straight ahead, and I put the airplane into reverse, and it's the first chance I've had to look to the right, and that's when I saw the American flag. That was it. That was the first time that my emotions came into play.
George Vitale returns home to a New York deeply wounded by 9/11. His everyday, a reminder of what was lost.
I come out my house and now I'm looking at that Manhattan skyline in front of me, and there's this gaping hole. And I remember becoming so overwhelmed emotionally that I just broke out in tears. I lost a lot of people that I knew, co-workers that never came home. I have sometimes guilt because my experience was so warm. I've made lifelong friends. It's kind of like if this evil attack by evil people never happened, I would have never met on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, the most wonderful people on earth.
Yeah, Newfoundland and Gander specifically would not have had all of these visitors coming over to their homes and to their schools and to their churches, and just being there with them throughout all that time. They would not have been experiencing any of this wonderful and interesting time with these visitors. And they've both been not really, I wouldn't just say affected, but what's the word I'm looking for? They were touched, yes. The people of Gander, they were touched by these new visitors, and the people who were aboard the aircraft, they were touched by the people of Gander, and they just had a totally different experience to those who have experienced what has happened in the United States of America. And coming back to that, I'm sure they don't really feel the type of traumatic pain that those who were in the United States of America had felt during that time, because they were in a safe community. They were with people who became their friends. They experienced a whole new place that they've never been to. Newfoundland, Gander, the town of Gander, and for that short space amount of time they've enjoyed themselves there, and now they've come home, and for some of them they have to still pick up the pieces after what has happened. So yes, it was a very touching experience on both sides. Yeah.
The O'Rourkes finally arrive home on Saturday afternoon, 4 days after they were diverted to Gander. It will be 9 more days before they finally get the call they had been dreading. Kevin's body has been recovered in the rubble of the North Tower.
I know Kevin so well. He'd be the last man out if it was his way. He'd get everybody out before himself, and that'd be it. That's the type he was.
He was only 44 years old.
Hey, he was still young.
Parents aren't supposed to bury their children. Children are supposed to bury their parents. The way he died, it was hard. It was hard.
I tell you, each year it gets easier. It don't. It gets harder.
The regular rhythm of everyday life in Gander returns quickly following that extraordinary week in September.
Bingo.
Schools are schools again.
I don't know what were those kids doing in their... Was it PE class, maybe? Yeah.
Churches fill on Sundays. Legion halls open their doors. But the bonds forged in that short time endure to this day. Shirley Brooks Jones has returned 17 times to give back to the people who were so generous to her.
Wow. She's really serious about this. Quite impressive, lady.
How big is that scholarship fund now?
The scholarship fund is approaching, with insurance and cash, around $900,000.
Wow.
And 111 young people of the Lewisport area have been helped by that scholarship.
Well done. Well done.
Last spring, Stacy Hoff is one of 12 Lewisport seniors awarded a Delta 15 scholarship.
And it comes to no surprise, I'm sure, that the graduate of the year for 2009 is Stacy Hoff.
She is now a freshman at Memorial University in St. John's, Newfoundland.
I was proud. I was proud not only to receive the scholarship, I was proud of my community for what they have done.
Well, the folks around here changed your life, but you changed their life as well.
Yes, we've become very, very close. They're my second family, really.
The Gander experience also forms a new family. After their impulsive goodbye kiss, Nick Marson and Diane Kershke, living an ocean apart, continue to phone and write each other. He visits her in October 2001 and again in December.
Guys, get married. Get married. What are you doing? Why are we wasting time now, huh? Just get married.
And ultimately arranges to be transferred to the Houston office. On September 7th, 2002, they are married.
Congratulations.
And for their honeymoon, they return to Gambo, the village near Gander where they met. The community welcomes them back with a song written just for them.
Oh, I bet you were. Hey, a little town in Newfoundland.
Newfoundland. I like the jingle.
So when you said to your friends in England, I was stranded in Gander, but I met this lady from Texas. They say, Nick, what's going on with you here?
One of my friends said to me, has she got that Texas twang? And I said, yes. And you still love her?
That would forever change your destiny.
For the O'Rourkes, memories of 9/11 remain deeply painful. But the lasting gratitude they feel for a kind stranger who became a dear friend during their darkest hours brings them back to Gander for the first time, 8 years after they have buried their son.
It's been a long time.
I don't believe it. Made you feel right at home, like you were friends forever. And you don't forget that.
In your case, you had great loss, but great gain because of all these friends that you made here.
Oh, I made great friends.
They'll be your friends forever.
Forever. Forever. Can never thank them enough. It is unbelievable what these people have done. The love that's here. Everything, you know, it's just unbelievable.
What we keep encountering time after time is an enormous contrast between the darkness of the events in the United States and the goodness that was going on here. So in many ways, Gander played a critical role, not just in getting people through that time, but as an example of what humanity can be when it's at its best.
Well, I think there was a lady, she was 80 years of age, and when she was leaving, I think she summed it all up. She said, when I heard about what had happened in the world, I had lost all faith in mankind. But after spending 5 days here with you people, you've restored my faith. There still is good people lifting our world.
That could be the legacy of Gander.
It could very well be.
In a lakeside park just outside of Gander, there is this monument to the local residents who put their lives on hold to help 7,000 strangers stranded far from home on a terrifying day. Here, every minute of every hour, thousands of acts of kindness were repeated. Here, in gratitude, passengers created a scholarship fund that will endure for generations. Here, amid the heartache, an autumn romance blossomed. Here, parents were consoled as they faced the prospect of the loss of a son at ground zero. Amid so much savagery, so much confusion, the people of Gander and Canada were a glowing reminder of the best that we can be when the need is the greatest.
Wow. All right. Yes, guys, that is it with the video. Let me just get the title of the video one last time. Operation Yellow Ribbon. Gander, Canada. Oh, sorry, yes. Sorry, guys, I'm reading the wrong one here. Operation Yellow Ribbon, Gander, Canada, 9/11, September 11, 2001. Yes, that is the title of the video. And this was a request from Vonnie Torreville, 23H. Wow. A airport that was designed for war, an airport that was built for war, has become a refuge, a resting point for those that were affected by what has happened in the United States of America. Gander Airport has a new purpose, and it fulfilled its purpose as being a place where all of these civilian aircraft could park and the passengers could disembark and try to live their lives in a whole new place, the town of Gander. And the people of Gander themselves have opened their arms wide, very wide, like they want to accommodate all of them all at once. They opened their arms very wide for these newcomers into the town, and they gave them support, they gave them shelter, they gave them food, they gave them companionship. they gave them hope and trust in humanity in their most darkest point in their lives, for most of them. Because most of them, their families lived in New York. Most of them, their families worked in the World Trade Center, or they worked in the Pentagon, and they were going through a lot emotionally. They were distressed. And all the people who also were heading home to the United States of America, they also were experiencing a very stressful situation, not knowing when would they go back, because the first day turned into the second day, into the third day, into the fourth day, and it was just going on and on and on. And that can build up a lot of anxiety and worry about what is going to happen next, and how am I going to get home? How am I going to see the rest of my family? And the people of Gander made sure that these people who are experiencing this sort of confusion and stressful situation, that they are given as much comfort as possible. And really, it has to be said that the people of Newfoundland and the people of Gander, the town of Gander, they've really done an amazing job here. Making sure that these people are well accommodated, that they can have a smile on their faces, even knowing that they won't be returning home anytime soon. But at least they are in a place where they feel safe, where they feel as if they are valued, and a place where they can find companionship. And that's very important. That's the type of hospitality that you rarely find across the world. That sort of sympathy and empathy that we sorely need in 2025. We really, really need this type of humanity, because there's a lot of bad things that are happening right now. A lot of terrible things. And definitely this documentary focusing on the town of Gander and its people is an example of what can be done. What can be done by the normal man or woman on the street. What can be done by the people of a town. Now we need to emulate that into our cities. And that we make sure that our governments also emulate that. That we need to let go of our identities, our nationalities, our races, and be human. Be human. Treat others how you would like to be treated. Be human. That's what we need. And the people of Gander really were human beings. They didn't have a lot. They didn't have the money. They didn't have the resources in abundance. But they shared with these people what they could and what they had in their possession. They shared. And I think the gods or the ancestors, they must be blessing the people of Gander. Really, they must be blessing them with a lot of luck for future generations because of the actions of these people when passengers from these airlines were in need of assistance. I'm sure the gods, the ancestors, they have blessed the people who live in that town tremendously. And also the people who have left, or should I say the people who were on the airlines, like Shirley Brooks Jones, who has started this fund initiative on funding students for their higher education. I mean, that is amazing. That is amazing. That's a thank you that will last generations and after generation after generation. And when people ask, how did this initiative start? We go all the way back to 2001, when Miss Brooks Jones, pushed this initiative to create this fund for children to have access to higher education. So yes, this is something that will last generations. And yeah, really, it's a good story. It's a good story that needs to be needs to be replicated, needs to be known by as many people as possible across the world. That we are all human beings and we can all work together to comfort each other, to give peace to one another, and that we don't have to be afraid of a future that is unknown. As long as we have each other as humanity, we can make it. We can make it. Yeah. Alright. Thank you, Vonnie Toravel, for the request. This has been a very interesting video to react to. And remember, guys, if you want to check out the original video as well as the YouTube channel where it comes from, the links are going to be in the description below. If you like my reaction, give it a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos. And I will see you guys next time. Okay?